Hold on just a second before we dive into this. Welcome, if you're new here, because this is a brand new space we've built, and we're on a quiet mission right now. We want to get to 100 subscribers. That's all. If you're watching this, you're early, you're foundational, and your support changes everything. So, before the story takes hold of you, please hit that subscribe button right now. And if you connect with this message at any point, make sure you smash the like button. We're hoping for 50 likes on this video alone, a small spark to start a massive fire. Now, take a deep breath. Let's talk about the silent anxiety that haunts us all. The alarm doesn't go off, but the pressure does. That feeling, sharp and cold, arrives before the sun, before the coffee, before the first logical thought can even form. It is the awareness of the unearned rest, the inventory of moments not leveraged, the ledger of potential productivity left tragically blank. We live in a world that valorizes exhaustion, where being busy isn't a state of affairs, but a moral accomplishment. And in this relentless landscape, we have watched, in real time, as rest itself transformed into an act of resistance, then, ironically, into an act of performance, and finally, into a burden of profound guilt. It began insidiously. The old shame of simply stopping was rebranded. Now, we are told to pursue self-care, to honor our minds and bodies. But look closely at the language. It is no longer about rest. It is about optimization. Self-care is a checklist item, a strategic withdrawal intended solely to refill the tank so you can drive harder and longer. A bath bomb isn't just a bath bomb. It's a necessary investment in your personal brand alignment. A mental health day isn't true surrender. It's preventative maintenance for the machine that must not break down. The moment you define relaxation as a strategy, you strip it of its inherent value and make it just another rung on the ladder of achievement. Relaxing becomes a meta-chore. We are the architects of our own impossible standards, constantly scrolling past curated visions of wellness. Every feed shouts the same paradox. Be a warrior, be a hustler, maximize every minute, but also be mindful. Practice gratitude. Take time for yourself. The problem is, these are not equal, balanced ideals. They are a mutually exclusive set of demands that leave the human spirit perpetually shortchanged. We are told to be the tireless general, always leading the charge, but also the gentle monk, always centered. And when we choose the monk, the general screams from the sidelines, calling us weak, calling us inefficient, poisoning the few precious moments we steal back for stillness. The weight of this guilt manifests in strange ways. The couch is no longer a haven, it's a judging seat. The book is not an escape, it's a reminder that you could be reading Grit or a biography of an industrial titan. Sleep is not restorative, it's a failure of will, a surrender to the body when the mind should be processing, planning, doing. This constant internal monologue creates a state of perpetual activation, a guilt-driven, low-grade anxiety that makes true, deep relaxation impossible. Even when the body is still, the mind is running sprints on a treadmill of shoulds. Why is this so? Because we have internalized the narrative of the unbreakable heroine, the person who thrives under immense pressure, who only finds definition in her struggle. To say, "I am tired," is to fail the cultural audition. To truly rest, to genuinely unplug without a plan to bounce back stronger, is an admission of human limitation, a vulnerability that feels existentially terrifying in a competitive world. The true fear is that if you stop, you will be left behind. If you are not constantly ascending, you must be in decline. So, we make our rest productive, posting filtered images of our self-care routines, turning vulnerability into another carefully managed presentation of success. The pause is just another performance. But we must understand that this pressure is not a natural law. It is a meticulously constructed environment, a systems bubble built entirely on keeping us hungry, anxious, and competitive. We are swimming in a vast, silent current of competitive comparison, constantly feeding the machine that insists our worth is conditional, dependent on the next promotion, the next purchase, the next viral validation. This system doesn't care about your well-being. It only cares about your throughput. It measures your value not by the depth of your life, but by the surface area of your visible achievements. Breaking free requires a deliberate philosophical act of resistance, the choice to step outside the bubble's metrics and define success purely on your own terms. This means consciously building an internal fortress to protect ourselves from the external demands. It requires the deep, painful work of defining and upholding boundaries, not as walls built against the world, but as definitions of our own inner landscape. The courage required to draw a line in the sand, to say, this far and no further, this much energy and no more, is the courage to choose your own authentic life over the prescribed life the system demands you live. To truly break free, we must begin to live according to our own internal constitution, respecting the immutable laws of our own mental, emotional, and physical capacity. This act of self-respect is revolutionary because it is sustainable, and because it inherently dictates how we interact with the world. When you genuinely respect your own limits, you participate in the world not from a place of chronic depletion and resentment, but from a reservoir of deliberate capacity. And in this state of secure, authentic being, we naturally extend the same radical kindness to others. We stop demanding that they too be unbreakable warriors, because we have stopped demanding it of ourselves. We choose mutual respect for human limits over the competitive exhaustion of the performance bubble. The escape is not geographical. It is a shift in valuation. We must reclaim the right to define our lives by the quiet beauty they contain, rather than the loud accomplishments they project. But then, sometimes when you've set that intention, when the mental line has been drawn, the noise cuts out entirely. For me, it was never a scheduled event. It was never a yoga retreat or a planned digital detox. It was the presence of an other, a human stillness that acted as a silent counterpoint to the cultural clamor. It arrived in the form of a connection so genuine, so profoundly non-performative, that it exposed the entire facade of the warrior complex as a hollow stage. This connection, this unexpected anchor, taught me the true meaning of letting go, not of responsibility, but of the performance of responsibility. It started subtly, a shared evening where conversation eventually dissolved into comfortable silence, where the expectation to be interesting simply vanished. There was no need to project capability or list achievements. There was only the vast, accepting space of shared presence. In that space, I realized the exhaustion wasn't primarily from the work. It was from the constant effort of maintaining the illusion of never being tired, the effort of fighting the system's valuation. And the true, profound release came in the quiet intimacy we built, where the system's rules could not penetrate. It wasn't about the doing, it was about the being, and more specifically, the being done with the need to strive. There is a moment, a specific gravity of connection, where the armor of the self-proclaimed warrior finally and gratefully clatters to the floor. It happens when the body is seen, not as a machine to be optimized, but as a territory of simple, immediate sensation, devoid of future demands or past regrets. It was in the soft landscape of a shared morning, the city still muted outside the window, that the deepest relaxation truly took hold. A relaxation earned not by achievement, but by authentic presence. That moment of touch, stripped of urgency, becomes an act of defiant rest. The weight of the world, the heavy cloak of achievement and expectation, is not so much shrugged off as it is gently lowered to the floor by another's hands. It is the language of the body, speaking a truth the mind has forbidden. You are allowed to feel good right now, simply because you exist. The erotic is the ultimate, non-negotiable pause button. It is a state where the only metric is sensation, where the only objective is now. It is the antithesis of the productivity mindset. When two energies meet, seeking nothing but the mutual, vulnerable expression of simple, unearned joy, the guilt dissolves entirely. The focus shifts entirely inward. A delicious tunnel vision where the endless to-do list, the looming deadlines, the curated perfection of social media, and the anxiety of the system's bubble cease to exist. They become, for those moments, utterly irrelevant ghosts, because they hold no sway over the present reality. It is the slow descent, the exquisite vulnerability of skin against skin, the quiet, heavy breathing that is neither a sign of exertion nor recovery, but simply life. The sensation itself is the only task, the only goal. There is a deep, anchoring power in being held not because you earned it, or because you need to recharge for the next fight, but simply because you are there, available, present. The hands that trace lines of tension are not optimizing. They are acknowledging and erasing. The kiss is not a reward. It is a shared space of stillness, a wordless agreement to finally, deeply, let go of the performance. In that shared darkness, beneath the weight of true, honest connection, the mind is finally forced into silence. The performance ends. The shoulds are mute. There is only the immediate, profound reality of the other, and the realization that this level of vulnerability, this complete surrender to the simple pleasures of the physical world, requires more strength than any amount of tireless striving ever did. It is the strength to be soft, the strength to be human, the strength to accept joy without justification, knowing that in this space, you are finally living your truth, outside the confines of the bubble. This intimacy, this total immersion in the present moment of connection, is the ultimate antidote to the performance anxiety that defines modern existence. It is the happy ending, not because a medal was won, but because the war against oneself, the war fueled by external pressures and conditional love, was finally declared over. And the ending, the simple, quiet aftermath, is the true prize. Lying there, side by side, perfectly still, there is no urge to grab the phone, no sudden surge of anxiety about the emails that wait. The rest is not an investment. It is a profound, non-transferable state of peace. You are not recharging to fight another day. You are resting because the body and soul have found a deep, resonant alignment with the only truth that matters. Your value is inherent, not earned. Your worth is not measured in output, but in the capacity for connection and acceptance of your own, deeply human limits. This is the freedom we seek, the liberation from the guilt of the pause, the escape from the external bubble. We are not machines to be maintained. We are complex, beautiful, fragile creatures who require stillness, who require vulnerability, and who require the unearned, immediate joy of human connection to simply be. The warrior complex is a prison. The acceptance of rest, of genuine soft intimacy, is the key. The new goal is not perpetual ascent, but resonant, quiet balance, achieved by respecting your own landscape and living your own authentic design. The true victory is the moment the alarm doesn't go off and the pressure doesn't arrive with it, because you finally understood that stillness is not a failure, but the most essential achievement of all. We have to stop making rest a means to an end and start seeing it as the end itself. It is the goal. It is the proof that we choose living over performing. And if you have ever felt this specific, gnawing guilt, if you've ever felt that pressure to be the unbreakable one, then you are not alone. You are exactly where you need to be.